There's a hyena tracks, zebra tracks, lots of tracks around, so should be a good morning. Just stop here, I like this view. Looking down towards the sort of eastern horizon. But there is a sun somewhere behind all of that. We did see it early this morning while heading over. We did see a little bit of a sun. Otherwise, beautiful day in Africa. Welcome to Wild Earth, and welcome to Djuma Game Reserve here in Sabi Sands. My name's Peter Pretorius, Brian behind the camera, and Will and Alex back in the control room. Everyone else as well, Graham, other Alex, and so on. Sorry, lots of things going on in my mind. We had an incredible drive last night with first a leopard with HT, and then right towards the end, a surprise down at Gari Wardal with Quarantine, his brother as well. So we had, at the end of drive yesterday evening, we had 2 leopards in this area, the 2 brothers, and they are young males. They do stick around areas quite a bit. Warthols do play a sort of a central focal point for them. So I'm hoping that we might find one of them, and I'm really hoping that we might find both, and I'm really hoping, as I said last night, there's a small chance, but imagine if Karula, their mother, comes into this area as well, and we maybe have one of the last, or perhaps the last opportunity to see all 3 of them together. Not that likely, but not impossible. So that's something that we can all sort of hope for or think for. That's about it. It's nice and cool, sort of like baby bear's porridge, not too hot, not too cold, just right. And we're going to look around. If you enjoyed, HT will be out in a bit as well, so you'll see him on the drive soon. Let's go look around. If you missed our sunset drive last night, as I said, we were very fortunate. So I'm just looking at tracks here. Early morning is a fantastic time for tracking because you get all the activity from the night. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it you can see in the tracks. And you can also gauge the tracks. I mean, there's many different little tricks and things to tracking. Not tricks, but you know what I mean. For instance, you can see this hyena track is fresh. It's over certain insect. Sorry, Alex, say again. Sorry, just something from control there. Alex, what was that? Alright, thank you. Let's look around. Feeling last night, well, not feeling, one we could see as well, is that Quarantine, the male that we saw second, the one we saw drinking, it was absolutely beautiful. Just had the ripples of the water reflecting over him, so he had these sort of lines of light running across his coat. But he did have quite a full belly, and he came somewhere out of this area because we found him just on the southern side of the waterhole. So my feeling is that he's got a kill here somewhere. I mean, this is somewhere is quite a big area. But we'll keep an eye out for tracks. Probably somewhere down this drainage line, so let's say for the next sort of half a kilometer to a kilometer, so sort of half a mile to a mile areas where he could be in. Just start around here and then widen out the sort of search area after that. More hyena tracks. It's fairly typical to see hyena tracks on the roads in the morning. Hyenas, even more so than leopard or lion, cover a lot of ground. A large part of how they find food is just by covering distance. They've got excellent smell, so they can smell a carcass kilometers, many kilometers away. In fact, they can probably often smell carcasses so far away that there's no point in them actually going there, but by moving around they can crisscross an area and really sort of smell out any opportunities. So you find their tracks, most mornings all the roads will have hyena tracks on it. Some buffalo tracks, those bulls that we saw last night, they were heading this way. No leopard tracks here, so that again tells me or confirms what we thought, that quarantine came in from the south, had a drink of water. We saw him when we left him just sleeping down in the riverbed, and then he has gone back somewhere south, it looks like. Brian, do you think you'll always look at that tree when you drive past you with a little memory? We had an amazing, one of the nicest views I've ever had of a leopard going up and down a tree with you a few nights ago. What's it now? 4 days ago. 4 days ago.
Yeah, 4 days.
That's it. The days do become a bit of a blur out here, in a good way. And that was in that tree. Let's have a little look along the drainage line here. Perfect kind of area for leopard to be in. I'm just going to switch off a little bit, have a look around. You can see a nice little tamboti thicket, all those smaller trees. Big jackalberry that had a leopard kill in it. As we said 4 days ago, that leopard that we had such a beautiful view of, Djuma. The reason I'm stopping as well, obviously looking around is good, but listening is very important. And at the moment I'm only hearing peaceful morning bird sounds. Dove calling, little warbler. Sounds like a starling in the distance. Just normal sort of early morning bird chatter. There's no alarm calls, there's nothing. That's a lovely sound. That's the woodland kingfisher, which we still must see properly. But there's no alarm calls, there's no squirrels. Squirrels and monkeys, that are probably the two best indications. And then obviously antelope. If you're hearing pala calling or kudu calling, no, I'm not going to do the whole riverbed. I'll come back here later on. Of course, we didn't get any tracks on the northern side here. I do want to first check towards the south before we start looking around this side again. Drongo, bird flying past here. He's just using our movement so nice to hear. Thank you, Laura. Laura is from Athens. I forgot Athens, I know it's North America, not Greece. But Laura just saying this brings back so many good memories, of all the best memories watching National Geographic in your childhood, and that is a fantastic thing to hear, Laura, to hear. That is great, and I hope that this is also going to form fantastic memories for everyone, but especially for the youngsters. If there can be youngsters enjoying this with us and getting a little bit more of a closeness to nature, closeness to Africa, closeness to wilderness areas and to wildlife. That would be brilliant. Yeah, memories, great things. Come on, let's try and see this guy. There he is. There's two of them. A little bit far, but let's see them because we're going to go look at them, or are going to look at them many times over the next few weeks. Right in the top there. Two very, very distinctive African bird calls. The woodland kingfisher that we're looking at, very synonymous with summertime. Sorry, synonymous. This is a call that you hear from about now. We heard the first one a few days ago through into sort of end of summer, the next 4 months or so, and then the other one which is just stopped is the turtle dove. Here's one coming back again. This is interesting. No, we're not going to see it. The one other woodland kingfisher was flying around with something in its beak, but can't see it now. Off he goes. Just while we're getting out there, just want to check in with the game drive stations quickly. They are very, very key element to finding animals out here. The more eyes and the more ears. You know, the same principle as impala sleeping together in groups. The more eyes looking around, the better chance you have of finding things, and the same goes for the game drives. Let's have a look at these francolins just while we're on a nice sort of low level with them. It's not often we get to be on ground level with bird life, or with ground bird life, put it that way. Again, that one, as is so often the case with different birds, but especially the francolins, scratching around basically on an animal footpath there. That bit of white sand you see there, that's a walking trail or a footpath or a budula, as they call it in Shangaan. Shangaan is the local language here. And because lots of animals walk on it, there's lots of animal dung along the sides of it and on it sometimes, and in that dung there's lots of little things to eat. Seeds, you know, undigested seeds and elephant dung, insects, insect larvae, all kinds of things that are there either directly or indirectly because of the dung being there. The francolins making the most of it, scratching around, finding a few things to eat. I was hoping they'd give us a call. Early morning francolins are also quite vocal. Sort of bush alarms. Alright, let's see what the game drives are up to. Morning all stations, Peter, Wild Earth, heading out. Any updates? Okay, copy, thanks. I'll be following up around here, see if we can find either one of those ingres from last night. Okay, copy, yeah. If I go that way a bit later, I'll give you a shot. Yeah, for the moment. Okay, I'm not there. I mean, you can only see tracks if there's sand soft enough to leave tracks. This is quite a hard road. And in the patches where it is soft enough, I'm not seeing leopard tracks. So it might be that it cut cross country.
If leopard are on a carcass, which is my suspicion with quarantine, they tend to take the easiest road. Now if there's a big animal footpath again, they'll take that, but they tend to just take the easiest road back and forth from the waterhole. In other words, they're not hunting, they're just going to drink water, then they walk back to the carcass. So they don't normally just sort of go via the bush when they do that. Again, you can just pick up more ticks and things like that when you're in the bush. It means you've got to groom again afterwards. You can walk on an open surface like this. It's easy, no thorns, no ticks. That works for leopard as well as it works for people. So now we've checked the southern road. Now we must see if we're lucky enough to pick up the tracks if he's crossed this road. This road runs east-west. So basically doing a block around the area, and do keep in mind that it's not impossible to miss a track. These animals have got soft padded feet. Leopards are probably some of the best stalking predators in the world, and that's because they've got perfectly padded feet designed for that. So you still have to keep a very, very sharp eye out, but in principle, a lot of the time, most of the time, you can get an idea of if they've crossed or not. You can get an idea of if they've crossed or not. Yesterday we had 4 little ones here in this group. Let's see if any new arrivals made an appearance during the night. How nice that was. You saw the one female coming over, and she's obviously, well, I presume the mother, but she could also be another female in the herd. They are quite social, but that's the mother of the one following her now. Oh, there's a bit of strutting in the background. You see that little one in the back is just sort of hopping along there. They do and will do more of it over the next few weeks. They literally practice their athleticism, their muscles, getting their coordination better, getting themselves fitter and stronger. And they do this beautiful sort of rocking back and forth running patterns, which is lovely to watch and also important for them to practice. Here's maybe a little bit of leading by example. Adult female, they're just getting some of the morning's business done. Oh, so great to see the support within the herd. Again, that might have been the mother, most likely the case, but not necessarily. You will often get different individuals in the group. Yeah, I don't even think that was the mother actually. Maybe just one of the other females. Let's go a little bit closer to them again. These little ones look like they getting ready for their morning. Maybe we get a bit of play from them. Interesting clouds coming in. Quite a dark sky. They're still in half sleep mode. More than half the herd is still asleep to our right and to the left. I think we're going to keep an eye on these youngsters. They can be so much fun when they get into sort of play mode. Just great birds. Whoa, that was a nice leap from the youngster. Oxpecker sitting on the impala's head there. And oxpeckers are very important helpers to many animals, like for instance impala. They groom them, they clean them, they help to get rid of those annoying parasites, mainly ticks. They will also quite often help animals with wounds on them, interestingly enough, as we've seen with the hippo. Although the hippo, the wound's unfortunately in such a way that it's maybe a bit big. But often if animals have little wounds, then the oxpeckers will help to keep those wounds slightly open so they can drain. So that doesn't close up and form an abscess inside. They keep the wound open a little bit, it can drain and that way heal faster. Oh, little ones are playing. Very, very quick when they do this, but I see there's a few adults also. This is actually called strutting, when they run like that, sort of rocking back and forth. And it's an important display behavior, quite often, well, in two parts. See, there's a few more adults doing it again. It's very difficult to see because they sort of do it quickly and then they stop, and then other ones do it in a different area, so tricky to spot it. But this display or this strutting behavior is what they do when they see predators very often. So if there's a leopard walking in the distance and the impalas have seen it, they will run like that and show the leopard, look at me, I'm really healthy, I'm fit, I can run, I can jump up and down, so don't even waste your time trying to catch me. And they've done studies on gazelle that do similar things, and springbuck as well, which looks a lot like the Thompson's gazelle. Springbuck you get more in the desert areas. And there seems to be a correlation between animals that display this very well and animals that don't, that do get hunted. In other words, the more you display, the more you show off your physical fitness and health, the less likely a predator would be to go for you. That female doesn't want to get up. She likes to sleep in the morning. She also has a perfect spot there. You can see just covered, sort of surrounded by these little twigs and leaves. So it keeps the wind off for a bit. Well, Mauricia, good morning. Asking about baby impala. There is one actually nursing right at the moment. Mauricia's just asking if they will only nurse or whether they will also eat grass and other vegetation. Mauricia, you'll probably find, and we'll see this over the next few days, within the first few days they start nibbling at little bits of food. In other words, almost mimicking the adults. They see the adults are eating that, so let me taste it as well. That one might even do it now. But it's not that they're eating as such yet. In other words, it's not their sustenance yet. They will be nursing for a few months, about 4 months or so. But they will, within the first few weeks, start eating food as well. And by the time they stop nursing, so by about 4 months, then they will be obviously on a normal diet. Little tail twitching. This female, I wonder why. Nah, I think it's just the weather keeping her in there. We had such an incredible morning yesterday with a double birth of 2 wildebeest calves. I was just wondering there if this female has maybe got a reason for keeping herself tucked in there. But she's ruminating as well. There's no other behavior to suggest anything other than that she's just enjoying being comfortable and on her belly, having a little bit of a lie in. All the usual morning activity. Grooming plays a big part of it, very important part of their daily routines. Have to stay clean, have to stay healthy. Those two are closely linked, so scratching with the tips of the hooves, there we go. This one finally got up. Scratching and then grooming with the front teeth, a very important part. And also allo grooming, where they groom each other, where one will help the other one get to those places that you can't get to yourself. One of the benefits of being social animals actually is that you can do that you can help each other, not only to look around and listen around, but also to groom and, for that matter, to play and to raise the young. Social cooperation, it's worth a lot. Yes, it is. Well, let's continue on a little bit. I'm quite enjoying this. I could sit with these impala the rest of the morning. It's just such a great feeling with them, yeah. But I don't think we're going to sit with them the whole morning, but we might come back past it later again. Guys, remember, you are welcome to ask questions, like Mauricio just did. You can tweet us at #SafariLive or email to questions@WildEarth.tv. Or if you want to send comments in, if you want to say hello or comment on something that you maybe saw on one of the other drives, or just chat. I saw a track. Now that's the leopard just crossed the road yesterday. Literally had 2 or 3 tracks, but this is a track from, difficult to show you unfortunately, but just to give you an idea, the leopard crossed the road in this direction, which makes me wonder if this wasn't quarantine. No, this was most likely Djuma last night. He was coming from this area when H2 was following him, and he crossed the road at an angle, so it's just a few tracks crossing. But remember, I mentioned that it didn't rain much, but we did have a few drops. There was one perfect little raindrop on top of the track. So that then is a clear indication that the leopard walked here, but that track is from last night sometime. The first rains, Brian very kindly organized with some of his connections last night that we could finish the drive before the rain came. So we know for a fact that the first rains came at about 7:05, those first drops, and the storm had probably blown past by 7:45, 8 o'clock. So that track would have been 7:30, 8 o'clock, something like that. So not worth that much for where the leopard might be now, but you build up this sort of constant picture, and that's, oh, there we go, you got back on the road. That's still the track from last night. You do build up this picture not only of where the leopard might be now, and others not only of the tracks at this moment, but being out here every day, you build up a bit of an idea of where things are moving. You do eventually know which animals are territorial or not, so you know, if you've seen this male here, then it's most likely he's going to go there next. So you build up this sort of greater understanding of what they are doing and what they might be up to. What was that? I think it was just a nothing, but well, I saw a funny shape there in the grass. No, just a bush. keeping a very sharp eye out for impala, looking like they might be sneaking off to a little quiet corner somewhere. There's one female standing to the side. Catch an impala birth maybe if we're very lucky. Skies this afternoon. This morning. Maybe this afternoon too. I think this might, I don't think necessarily mean rain for us this morning, but it wouldn't be surprised if it builds up to something sort of like we had yesterday afternoon. Build up into a bit of a afternoon storm. Squirrel running away. Not always easy to see these little guys because they can be quite shy, but let's try. This one seems to be gone. Too quick. No, he's making a run for it. I like squirrels a lot, but squirrels are probably the luckiest rats in the world because they got this really fluffy tail. So people just love them. These are the tree squirrels. We don't get, it's the only squirrel you really get in this area. We don't get very big ones. This guy's only about sort of that big a body. another elephant comes and just pushes the tree the other way again. You get like one trained elephant that does that. Open area close to Gallagher Lodge, or in front of it actually. There's the lodge, you can't see it, but it's sort of tucked into the bush there. There's a bit of a waterhole, so always a good place to check. Into this clearing area. Swing left there. Crack again. Morning again, Makulu Madon. Okay, copy, thanks. Up in our area, it's much further to the east, but Craig just got a big leopard there. And again, just in terms of that sort of bigger picture of the area, it's good to know if there's a big male leopard. They've just seen him briefly, but if it's in Vula, for instance, then we know that we could expect maybe the next day, 2 days, that he might be coming through this area. So always keeping a constant picture of where what might be. while we're looking around, HT is busy with the same thing. He's heading further south, and I think he's got a few places he wants to check. He is also looking for that hippo, the injured one that we've been following the last few days. It seems he was making a bit of a recovery yesterday. So enjoy the drive with HT. I'm sure he's looking forward to saying good morning, and we'll see you back again here when we do. See you now.
Good morning, everyone. Great to have you back, and I'm sorry I didn't see you much yesterday afternoon. I went into some pretty heavy terrain there. The signal was quite bad, and we did follow Djuma for quite some time, but then we lost him in some very, very thick vegetation. So he's around somewhere, and Pete and I are both keeping our eyes out this morning. My name's Hayden Turner. Welcome to Safari Live. I'm sure Pete's given you a great greeting this morning, and it's really great to have you on board. If it's your first time, fantastic stuff. We're really going to go out and look for as much as we possibly can this morning. The temperature's lovely. It's very, very cool, which is a great thing for the predators. But just to bring you up to date on a story that we've been following, and if it is your first time, we can give you a little bit of a backstory. But for those people who have been watching for a while with us about this hippo, we saw this hippo here yesterday. He's an injured old bull, and he came to blows with another dominant bull. Sorry, a dominant bull over on Viatella Dam. Now we had some intelligence from a viewer that I just can't remember the lady's name, but I will find that and say thank you to her. Sue does ring a bell, but I have to double check on that with our control room. But the story was that she saw on one of our webcams, or one of the dam cams, that there was a big battle between this bull and the dominant bull. Anyway, our bull that I'm talking about that was here last night, he came off second best. He had very, very serious injuries, and he still has. They do look like they've improved a little bit, but they're so severe that I'm not sure whether he is going to come back from them. That's the honest truth. All the team were talking about it last night, and there's a few of us that think he might come back. He's a very, very resilient old beast, and he was lying here last night when we left him. We had Djuma, the leopard, over in a hole just over here, and we had this old bull sitting, lying here in the mud, trying to get to recover. He's not here this morning. I don't know where he's gone. It is unusual for a hippo not to be in the water at this time of the day, but then again, it's so cool and overcast this morning. He may have plucked up enough courage or enough energy to go off and or still be feeding. I'm not really sure what his location is, but we will come back here regularly to this morning and also this afternoon to see if we can find him. Fingers crossed, he may come back. He's definitely a tough old beast, but we'll see how it goes. So Djuma and quarantine, 2 leopards in the one afternoon, which was quite extraordinary, and we unfortunately lost him through that thick vegetation, but we did get some beautiful images of him, and I was just in country that technically it wasn't sound to live stream to you. But anyway, I'm going to head over to Arathusa, which is an area that I like to go and check every other day, and that is because there's a lot of terrain or habitat over there that is quite favoured by cheetah. We haven't had any recordings of cheetah over there on the radio this morning, but there's a bit of action going on around the place, and I'm just going to drive down and also check twin dams now. So if you've got any questions for us, it's questions at WildEarthTV, or you can tweet us at #SafariLive and send us anything you'd like, and we'll try and answer those questions for you. But great to have you on board, and sorry I didn't come back to you yesterday. I missed you, but we're back this morning, so let's see how we go. We're just going to drive along across here, across the dam wall. We'll do it, we'll go quite smoothly this morning. I'm with VM, of course. My eyes in the sky, and VM had a wildebeest named after him yesterday morning, which is a pretty extraordinary morning for us to see those 2 wildebeest born. The one that I saw with VM first, and then Pete followed up with another one, which was just brilliant. And then those 2 little offspring met each other, which was pretty cool. But we saw that in the morning, and then we saw 2 leopard in the afternoon, which were fantastic. But Kanyama, he just played the follow game for me. We followed through some incredibly tough terrain yesterday for our vehicle, and we kept our distance from him, and he was absolutely fine, but he went into some really thick vegetation. We just couldn't follow, and it was getting too dark, and we thought we'd just let him be. But hopefully he had success last night hunting. Yeah, an amazing thing to see yesterday, the birth of those 2 wildebeest. I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to. I've filmed it once before, but not in quite as much detail, and I certainly haven't broadcast it live, that's for sure. That was, we think, a world first. We're not sure, but 2 wildebeest being born live, which was pretty impressive stuff for us. We were pretty enthusiastic about the whole thing, and we really wanted to bring that to you. There's a couple of lovely little dwarf mongoose just here. Just see if they stop for us. No, I think they're going to carry on. Couple of lovely little, you might be able to see them just in here. They're very busy there. There's one going over to this. I'll just roll down a little bit for you. See this little guy just over here? Very busy little band of dwarf mongoose foraging around, looking for anything they can possibly find. Invertebrates, small reptiles, anything they can get their hands on. Voracious little eaters, and they'll be foraging around all day. They'll have someone out watching. There's a little band of them. I can't quite see the whole band, but there's about 3 or 4 we can see just around at the moment. Let's try and get down a little bit closer. They're incredibly tolerant, actually. You'd think they'd run off. I'll just get up a little bit closer and then we'll turn off again. Just watching us. He's right behind that log there. He's a little bit hard to see, but he's got his little eye poking out the side, just watching us there. They grab little insects off anything they possibly can, anywhere they can. There he goes, he's got something nice there for breakfast. And there will be a sentry somewhere looking out, keeping their eyes out for any predators. Beautiful little animal. There we go. We might leave him be. That was nice. So it's not always about the big stuff. The small stuff are just as important as well. All the smaller mammals, the reptiles, the invertebrates, the insects. Really important. It all fits in together. We're trying to add a few birds to our list if we can today. We've been building a list over the past few weeks. We've got about 25 birds on it so far. Might just lose my signal a little bit here, folks, so apologies. I'm just going to drop down into this dip, and we do have this from time to time. See how we go. That's great. We didn't have any breakup, which was fantastic. We get them sometimes and sometimes we don't. We get to know the ones that we do get breakup in, so we try and warn you, and hopefully we have a little bit of good luck going through there. So Kunyama was just beautiful to see yesterday. What a stunning leopard he is, and very, very conditioned, habituated to the vehicle and to us. He does have a little thing that he does when he sees the camera lens. He does a little sort of a snarl at the camera lens. He sees that big eye, either if it's on my camera or on my stills camera or on the transmission camera. Some lovely little guinea fowl here. They're really comical little guys. Helmeted guinea fowl. A little bit of quintessential Africa there. They have the ability to fly, these guys, if they need to get out of danger, but they're predominantly ground dwelling. They'll roost in trees during the night to escape predators, but the majority of the time is on the day foraging. But if they do have to take flight, it'll be up and over the trees and then they'll land, and they normally vocalize when they take flight and then land and regroup. That was a small flock just there, only about 4 or 5, but you do see them in flocks of hundreds sometimes. And when you see them all take to the sky, it's quite a spectacular thing. We might lose you down in this dip here because this is a notorious dip for lack of signal. Don't know what the weather's going to do today. We thought it was going to be a huge thunderstorm last night and it completely bypassed us. We prepared for rain. We drove as fast as we could safely back to the camp, but we only copped a couple of drops, which was rather strange, but we really have been lucky with the weather. But it is coming. These big rains are on their way. Sorry, bad bumps there. A little bit quiet down here this morning. Have a little look up here, just park ourselves on the top here. Have a little scan around the dam here just to see if there's any nice birds. Yeah, seems pretty cool. A little bit quiet, so we'll carry on. Just a bit of a reverse and a bump down here, folks. Got a question from Vicky. Hi Vicky on Twitter. Thank you so much for your question and welcome aboard. Vicky wants to know whether my wife and son watch whilst we're on drive, and they do. They definitely do. We're based in London at the moment, so it's a bit tricky for them time zone wise, but they catch the last half hour, and when my son Jack comes home from school, he catches the last half hour as well. So that's really nice to know. And then every other day on either on my mobile, on either FaceTime or something like that, and it's really cool for me to hear what Jack's seen. So yeah, it's very, very good, and they do watch me as much as they possibly can, and they can come up with all the clips and things on the websites, which is fantastic as well. Thank you for your question, Vicky. I think about them a lot when I'm on drive, particularly when you see amazing things. You wish you had your boy and your wife sitting next to you always, because you love to share that sort of thing. But that's the fantastic thing about Safari Live. You can share that with not just all the wonderful people that watch that I don't know, but I feel like I know, but family and friends as well. So guys, I'm going to cross back over to Pete. He's got some nice hippo, I think, in Buffelshoek Dam, and it's a little bit bumpy along this road with the corrugation, so I'll get this road out of the way, and then when we're on Arathusa, we'll come back and I'll show you what we're up to. We'll see you soon.
Welcome to the waterhole. I'm sure you enjoyed saying good morning to HT and his adventure for the morning. See what's going to happen that side. We're just sitting at Buffelshoek Dam, and it seems during the night a bigger pod of hippos moved in. This is a little family, a bull, 2 cows and 1 youngster. Sorry. 3 cows. I think the one might actually 5. Sorry, I've not been 1, 2, 3. Let's start this again. Yeah, keeps being more noses. So the big bull is the one there close to the young one, as far as we can tell, just from the size of the head. They're popping up and down. Let's see if we can get the final count on this. I think 6 at least, but I thought I saw another nose there, but. With these hippos, they move around quite a bit in the area that we're in. You know, if you go further south, for instance, you get bigger river systems where there's the competition is very fierce over both water and land territory. So you've got the bull and his herd, and the bull defends an area,
And if it's on a more traditional sort of river system, think of it almost like sort of like a pear-shaped territory, where you've got a smaller section, so the top of the pear would be in the water area, and then you've got a larger grazing area that they actively scent mark and also defend. But in this part, because we've got various little waterholes everywhere and bigger waterholes like this dam, they move around within a general area, and they use different waterholes within that sort of territorial boundaries, if you want. So that's why you don't get specific hippos to a specific dam all the time. It can vary a bit. But this would be a fairly fixed group, so we'll try and see. It's also very difficult to gauge. I mean, we can clearly see that one is a baby because it's tiny, but your sub-adults and your females, it won't always be that easy to distinguish them just by looking at the typical part of the hippo like that, just the nose poking out. I think they're a little bit shy. Decided to just sit here for a little bit. It's always lovely at any waterhole. There you can see the big view. That's Buffelshoek Dam. Cloud banks to the east. Let's sit a little bit and see if there's maybe something else popping out here. This time of year, before the rains actually finally arrive, there's a lot of activity around waterholes. While we are looking at hippo, there's still quite a few inquiries or concerns over that wounded hippo, the injured one we started seeing a couple of days ago. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Let's see if we can get all of them out at one stage. But just to give you an update, we couldn't find him this morning. He wasn't where he was last night. Now again, hippos do feed at night, so that shows us a few things. One is that he's still strong enough to walk around, and obviously in that process get food, which is very important. If he is going to get better, he's going to need to eat. And it also shows us that he walked most likely far enough and wide enough that he might now be at a different waterhole again. So all in all, it looks like there might be a recovery story there, which will be great. I know yesterday when HT and VM saw him, they told us that he is looking much better. It's incredible though how wild animals can bounce back from severe injuries. I've seen many examples of it over the years, but the most striking one for me were 2 lions in Pilanesberg, where I worked at for about 4.5 years, and 1, 2, 3, 6. So keep counting. We've only seen 6 so far. Huh? I don't think we've seen more. I've got a sneaky feeling there's one of them that's really shy. You just see every now and again these 2 nostrils popping out. But in Pilanesberg we had these 2 male lions called Hamab U and Hamab C. They were originally introduced from the Etosha National Park area in Namibia. Beautiful lions, physically some of the biggest lions, well, to date actually. They were massive. Hamab C, when we changed collars once, we weighed him at 230 kilograms. That's 506 pounds, give or take a few pounds. But they were in fights with other males, territorial battles they had. And I saw them with Gus, who was doing the lion research, the ecologist from the park, and they looked horrific. I mean, really, these were the first lions I ever really got to know on a daily basis, guiding in the area. And the both of them, we saw them a couple of days, maybe 2 days after the fight, and they were in really bad condition. You could see all their ribs. You could literally see the ribs. You could see the spinal column, the bumps from it, the bones. Hamab U had a massive slash through his nose. His nose was almost cut in 2, and just bad bruises, bites on the head, just damaged. And we saw them, I forgot exactly now, but 4 days later we found them, and they'd been on a kill for about 3 days or so. So obviously after we'd seen them, within the next 24 hours somewhere they caught, it was a wildebeest or something like that, I think. and it was incredible, the change. Within 4 days they'd made almost a full recovery. You could see the scars, and the nose was busy healing, and you could see the bite marks healing, so you could see the scars from the fight, but they were back to gleaming condition almost. It was unbelievable. For me, that was the sort of the epitome of how wild animals, how tough they are, how resilient they are. So coming back to the big hippo, it's not impossible that he'll recover, maybe make a full recovery, but at the same time he is old now. He's been in lots of battles and he's recovered from it, but if he does recover, I think he will just live out his days as a solitary bull, not likely become a dominant territorial male again. Standing by. No, to nothing quarantine. We had 1 or 2 tracks, but it's from last night, and we're now just up here at Buffelshoek Dam. Nice Mhlambi and Vubu in the Mati here, but nothing else. Yeah, quarantine Buffelshoek boundary around to Buffelshoek Dam, and I'll probably do. Did you do cheetah cut line this morning? Okay, then I'll probably zigzag here at Central Road or something. Okay, copy. Alright, there's not that many vehicles out this morning. So that was just a chat with Craig. I'm going to tell you guys what he's asking just now. It's a very interesting question. Craig, no, I would give probably all my back teeth to know. Well, if it's about a week from now, then maybe more, but no idea. I mean, she used to, with some of the other litters, be around Voitella for that, so I'm hoping that happens again. Yeah, AFM. No, we're going to keep a close eye out for that. Guys, Craig is just, he was just asking, do you perhaps have any idea where Karula's den might be? Now, Karula is a female leopard, if you don't know the history to some of the cats. There's 2 leopards we saw last night, Djuma and Quarantine. They are her offspring from the last litter, which was the 4th litter. And they are now about 2 years old. In fact, December now, they should be 2 years old. And that's roughly when leopards start to move. They will sometimes stay in their mother's area for a bit longer, but they will become, or are virtually now, independent of the mother. They catch their own food, they do their own thing. And as soon as Karula has her next cubs, which, again, traditionally, if you want, has been every 2 years, normally around December. That's when she's had her cubs for you know, I think 3 of her last 4 litters. So the chances that she is either having cubs, maybe right now, had them already, or will have them very soon, is highly, highly likely. And he was just asking if I maybe know where the den is, which you'll notice when if I do suddenly have a brainwave that tells me where the den is, I'll be the guy jumping up and down here, sort of disappearing out of screen from excitement, because that is, we were talking about yesterday, the wildebeest.
Just heading over to, we're on Arathusa now. This is a beautiful, beautiful reserve. Lots and lots of activity in the past few weeks with particularly line. I think Pete came over here and saw that big pride of 12 line. But we're just going to come and have a look at this airstrip area again, as I try and do every day or every other day. And you never know your luck. There was cheetah recorded in the area on another reserve a little ways away, but you just don't know how far they will move and when they'll turn up. A little bit more elusive than the leopards and the lions, so we need to put a lot more work into finding them. And I keep saying it, you know, the habitat that we go and see, that we think that they'll occur in, isn't always the case. You can see them in some quite closed woodland area like this, which I've seen many times before. So this is an operational airstrip where guests fly into Arathusa. Always good to look left and right, just in case. I like to just stop and have a look through the binoculars for the simple reason that you can approach, you can have a lot further investigation and approach whatever you can see with a little bit more intelligence, I suppose. A bit quiet, but that's fine. It's interesting how the temperature can vary so dramatically. Like, I'm sure it's only in the teens this morning, the in centigrade. I'll get an update from the control room just now on the temperature exactly, but I was doing a few technical tests on my vehicle this morning with Peter and the team, and I didn't get out till a little bit later whilst Pete was already out, so I didn't quite get the temperature, but I have to say it's dramatically different to yesterday. It was in the mid-30s yesterday Celsius, mid to late, which is quite close to 100 Fahrenheit, and this morning it's well below that, which is great for us, particularly predator wise. We're going to maximise our time for predators this morning, and as it starts to warm up, if it does start to warm up, we'll then go to the water points and look also for some of the other wildlife. Definitely a bit of a wind blowing. Thanks, Alex. Just got a message from Alex in the control. 20 degrees Celsius, 65, I think 65 Fahrenheit. 69, sorry, I didn't copy that, 69 Fahrenheit. It's just a bit windy out here, I can't quite hear you properly. So 69 Fahrenheit and 20 degrees Celsius, so it's pretty cool, but there's quite a breeze blowing this morning, as you can probably hear on the microphones. Very quiet on the airstrip this morning. We'll just do a little loop. Yeah, very quiet, but you get that happens on day to day. We'll drive into some areas and not expect anything like we did last. Kunyama the leopard and kudu at the water point and the hippo and loads of different things, and many a time we drive up there and there's nothing. So it's just the luck of the draw. This is unscripted, as we always say. It's unfolding in front of your eyes the way it actually happens. So these are the sorts of things that do occur. Quiet times and busy times. It's been an action-packed few weeks, that's for sure. We're leading up to Big Cat Week on the 29th of November on Nat Geo Wild National Geographic Channel. Plus it'll still be online as well on WildEarthTV and National Geographic's websites. So there's lots of different ways to watch it, and we hope that we get some great big cat action in that week. We've had some pretty incredible stuff. We've had those wild dog encounters where they had those 2 hunts. We've had that extraordinary time with that line pride of 9 individuals with that buffalo. Amazing leopard encounters over the past 3 weeks. And the list goes on, but it's an incredible place. Djuma and Arathusa game reserves within Savi Sands here in South Africa. Just beautiful, beautiful. Very, very habituated and familiarized or conditioned, there's another word we used, wildlife that don't find us a threat. And that's been a lot of work that's been put in from years and years and years of management of incredibly dedicated people on these reserves and the whole of Savi Sands. You know, 65,000 square hectares of just double check myself there. I just made a bit of a blunder. A very big reserve, sorry. Incredibly large area of dedicated people. Dedicated people putting time into managing these areas so these animals are protected and cared for. So very quiet in this area. That's okay. It was interesting yesterday when we were watching those wildebeest being born. The lodge and reserve managers, Candice and Mike, were at home watching as they were getting prepared for their work day. Were watching the live stream, and they were only literally hundreds of meters from us as the crow flies, so to speak, but they saw that live happening and they jumped in their vehicle and they came up and joined us, which was really fantastic. Really great stuff. They're great people. Okay, well that's a very, very quiet airstrip this morning. I'm just going to have a little look at my map because we're still getting used to the roads on Arathusa, and just bear with me for a second. Okay, we'll just take the next left. The next road's called Eli Alley. Eli Alley, as in Elephant Alley. So maybe that might bring us some luck. You never know what's around that next corner, folks, as I always say. I know you've seen Impala this morning with Pete, but there's just a beautiful little youngster with his mum. Oh, they run. They do that often, those guys. They sit and watch you, and then as soon as you stop, they'll probably stop and stay there again. Look at that little guy. Scampering across, they'll come probably across in front of us here. Just hiding out in the vegetation here. Interesting thing, folks, I find, and it's just an observation, and I've talked to Pete about it a few times as well, and other people. You find that when it's really a windy day, like it is today, gosh, look at them run. That little Impala's right up to speed with his mum, hot on her heels there. You find when it's a bit of a windy day, a lot of the antelope like to go into the more wooded areas, and they congregate in the wooded areas. Now I'm not sure why that is. There's a couple of theories that people think it's because in the open areas they can't hear as well, or the air is the wind is swirling scent around quite vigorously, and in these wooded areas there's a little bit more control over their senses with the wind and their hearing. So who knows what it is, but you definitely do find that the antelope have a tendency to congregate in the wooded areas when it's really, really windy. Another beautiful bird there. We have seen him before, but they don't stop and sit this often, so we might see if we can just get a shot of him. He's just through there. He's hunting at the moment, insects. He's just through there, sitting on that branch. See that, Vion? Across. That's him there. He might fly off. It's a little bit difficult to see, folks. Yeah. He's a lilac-breasted roller, and he was hunting there. We'll get a better shot of him, and I'll show you on the app as well. But a beautiful bird. He's a little bit backlit there, so not a fantastic shot for you. Yeah, so it was a bit of a mission yesterday following Kanyama. Wow, did we go through some heavy country. I felt like I'd been had a bit of a boxing match after it. It was a couple of hours of following him through this terrain up and down. We had it in low range 4-wheel drive a few times. Unfortunately we weren't with you live, but we were going up terrain like this. And anyway, he settled down on a beautiful termite mound, but Pete was already with quarantine with you, so we had a beautiful shot with Pete. at that waterhole watching him drink, which was just stunning to see, wasn't it? And we let quarantine be there, but I'm sorry, we let Djuma be. But 2 leopards, 2 sightings, you're spoiled for choice there. It really is incredible to. It's definitely on the move. Djuma, quarantine. Just watching my aerial there. A little bit bumpy this road, folks, but I like these little roads that go down. The road's a little less travelled, I really have a tendency to lean towards. And that road we went down a few weeks back, or last week, it was less travelled, ended up leading us to that line pride, which was pretty nice. And if it wasn't for my eyes in the sky behind me there, we would have driven right past it. So Liam actually spotted that right out of the corner of his eye. It was a brilliant spot. Starting to heat up just a touch, folks. You can feel the temperature, the sun's just penetrating through this cloud cover. It's getting a little bit thinner. It was so lovely to see Quarantine last night lying down on that sand after he had a drink, and as Pete was talking to you, I was just watching, and it's just a beautiful way to finish. Definitely, if you see a leopard in any day, it's a good day. Just saw a vulture fly off a minute ago, and I just wondered where he went to. He might have just been. So all we're doing is sort of crisscrossing, zigzagging across Arathusa at the moment. Just a few roads of these I've never been down before. Always good to investigate. Okay, folks, so I think, you know what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a little poke around this area and see what we can see, and then maybe head back over to Djuma. But in the meantime, let's cross over to Pete and see what he's up to, and if anything pops its head up, I will come back to you straight away. We'll see you soon.
Well, welcome back. We had a bit of disappearing active from Arathusa earlier. We started to move along, look around further again, stretch our legs a little bit sort of in the general area, see what we could find, as HT is doing. We've had such a good few days with amazing sightings. I mean, HT just giving a bit of a recap of what we've seen and sort of some of the stories going on at the moment, from the hippo to the wildebeest to the leopard. So much been going on, so a little bit spoiled. Today we have to look again, find new things. So check the antenna there, we've got a little tail sticking out the back there. Sorry, what's that, Alex? Let's go again. We were doing earlier this morning is trying to follow up again on quarantine the male leopard we saw last night at the end of drive. What was that? Even if I can get some of his tracks last night when he did go to the water, just an idea of where he might have come out from. Otherwise, we'll have to hope for a little bit of luck. If we could find him in a similar way again, maybe on his way to go drink, and then follow him back to the carcass. That would be, that's sort of the way you find it most often, actually, is not most often, that tracking these different aspects, but one of the better ways to find the leopard in the carcass, if it's somewhere in the thick bush, you know, if you don't know where to start, to obviously find the cat and then follow him back. Whoa, that's quite cool. You don't see these antelope very often. Very, very shy. They're in the same family as kudu and nyala. That's amazing, it's gone. That's why you don't see them very often. It was a bush buck. Oh, there it is in the back, but yeah, she's gone. Extremely secretive antelope. One of my favorites. Looks a little bit like nyala, but smaller, a little bit darker in color, not as red. Not many stripes, just a few sort of spots on them. Very Bambi-like in appearance, but absolutely beautiful antelope. And as I said, one of my favorites, but it's so seldom that you actually see them. We can try. Oh, she's gone again. Okay, there she goes, there she goes. Might just get a glimpse. If we're lucky, you can just go a bit forward. There's a gap here. Yeah, and I think that's it for now.
Fine.
Let's see if those fish eagles are still around. We saw 2 fish eagles earlier when we came past here. Oh, nice sunlight coming out. That's always a good thing. Sky opening up a little bit, but I think this is only to allow for the build up to start. All this moisture that's been in this sort of low level cloud now start building up into maybe the storm that we've been expecting for the last few days. There they go. Fish eagle seems to have left. It seems they went somewhere else. Hey, look at these birds on the road there. We talk about them every so often, especially around waterhole areas. And this would almost certainly be one of these 3 would be a youngster. Normally you find them in pairs of 2. Or just in pairs or just in 2s. The sound that they make is where the name comes from. Also, it looks like they've got a bit of a sort of like a blacksmith apron on. But that a tinkering sound, ting, 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 sounds like a guy busy beating a piece of metal on his anvil. I think that's what we can see for now. I'm going to turn around and come back the way. I actually want to go a little bit further to the west. Here's some nyala. And funny structure behind them. That is, it's good to see that it stood the test of the storm last night. That's where we're busy building our hideaway camp for when the rains come. So you will spend some time at some stage or another under there with us. And this is just a sort of practice run on it. We'll still get it up solid, but glad to see it's still up after last night's gusty winds. Nyala, as we said, same family as kudu and as the bushbuck that we almost saw just now, and also eland, that also falls in the same subfamily. Eland we don't see here though. You could theoretically see them here, but you see them only a bit further north once it gets a little bit drier. But I think those nyala are going the same way we are, although this is quite a lovely view. Let's watch them for a bit. It's a young male walking in the sort of second from the back there. Let's see, we'll probably get another closer look at them again. Walking in a line, there's a little bit of an animal footpath there, but it seems they're all heading down towards the lodge area. Especially the nyala, they get used to people quite quickly. So even though these are totally wild animals, you'll often see them around the lodge, moving around between the rooms. Probably the fact that they well, get habituated quite quickly, but also that they've learned when there's humans around and in the vicinity of the lodge, it can be quite a sort of a comfortable, safe place, relatively safe place for them. Literally walking on tiptoe. Those are both young males. You can see the little straight horns. When we spoke earlier about pen copper, little pen horns, they will also become quite big over the next few years, those horns, but for now just showing that they're still youngsters. And also they look a lot like the female still in terms of coloration, but you can see already that dark crest on the back getting more prominent. With Nyalas, they have the biggest difference between male and female in terms of size and coloration. The males are much larger than the females and also much darker. So once they're mature animals, if you were to quickly look at the two, you might be forgiven for thinking that it's two different species. But the first year or two of their lives, the males look very similar to the females. Well, that's good news. You see, if you look around, you find things. HD's just found something, or lots of things. So enjoy it, and we'll keep doing the same on this side. Look around.
Well, you might go to work on a daily basis and have to stop for traffic and the red lights and so on. But it's not often you have to stop for a herd of about 100 buffalo that have just finished crossing the road in front of us here. A really beautiful breeding herd of buffalo. I'll just go up a little bit further so you can see the tail end of them. They all came from a water point down to the left here, and they've all crossed over now, and they'll feed as they go through here. I love buffalo. I think they're fantastic creatures. Really interesting. And this is several different clans of buffalo that are joined together to form a herd. Very sociable, very relaxed with each other. You don't see too many skirmishes in a buffalo herd. Only bulls really competing for dominancy. But other than that, they all get along, and they're extraordinary creatures. They're beautiful. We might come across them again. They've moved into this area that we were about to traverse. So just have a little bit of a look around for Kanyama. He came up this way last night. We've left Arathusa, we've come back over into Djuma, and we'll go back over into Arathusa later. So we're just going to have a little bit of a look around here, and I just want to double check to see if he came through this way, because as we left him last night he was heading this direction. You just don't know what could have happened. Still around 20 degrees. The sun was trying to peek its head through before, but didn't have much luck. Still quite overcast. Quite a breeze blowing this morning, as I've said before. We'll get a little bit of a blow on the microphones. lovely impala herd up here. Lots of little ones. Loads of babies up there sitting in a little creche in the middle. Just over to the right there's a few. Couple of young boys there just having a little bit of a spar. Building their strength and skills for what's coming up in their life. In the winter you'll get the males go into a rutting season, which is quite an extraordinary affair. They fight with each other fiercely for dominancy over the herd, or a herd of females, and they'll protect fiercely. They spend nearly as much time fighting off other males, other contenders, as they do mating. These are two just youngsters getting their learning how to use their weapons. Just pan across, Liam. VM, sorry mate. There's a lovely bunch of little tiny, just a little bit further. Keep going, keep going. Look at all those youngsters together there. A little creche. All the babies hanging out together, with one of the females and a few others just keeping an eye on them. Beautiful. They're really starting to gain their strength now. These impalas, they're 3, 4, 5, 6 and even a week old. And they're definitely getting a lot stronger. Okay, let's just move on. Hey, how are you, Jim? Still a few females just around the periphery of those herds, waiting to give birth. A couple of the later ones. Always keeping our eyes open for that. Wouldn't it be great to have wildebeest and impala live births? We always got our eyes out for any females that look like they're potentially going to drop a little lamb. So there's just a nice individual on the right there. He's standing by himself, which always makes life a little bit more vulnerable. But he's got those beautiful horns that are those really, impala are well known for that shape, that shaped horn. And that's what those two youngsters that were just sparring together will grow up to be. And when the winter comes, they'll go into a very, very competitive series of battles with other rams. Don't know what he's looking down out there. Just stop for a second here. He's got his eyes on something down there. Yeah, it's always worth just sitting for a second and seeing when if he was dropping his head down and grazing and then just looking up, we'd know that he was just a little bit uneasy because of the wind and so on, but he's definitely fixated on something down there. And you get that head bob like that. He just bobbed his head up, ears flicking around. Potentially something concerning him down there. Might just reverse it. No, he's turned around. Okay. Okay. I thought he was looking at something. The next step after that for those animals is when they do clock onto something, they will let out a distress or alert vocalization. And when they do that, you know that they've cottoned onto something, and it's normally a predator. We've got a question from Vicky on Twitter. Thanks Vicky, welcome aboard, great to have you with us. And Vicky would like to know what their hooves are made out of, what Impala's hooves. Well, Impala and all other hoofed animals, their hooves are made out of keratin, the same sort of substance that our hair and our fingernails and toenails are made out of. Just a slightly different density, and that's exactly what they're made out of. And they wear down and they grow like our toenails do, but walking on this coarse ground and running, etc., keeps them down to a fine shape. And that's the same material that their horns are made out of as well. So yeah, it's called keratin, K-E-R-A-T-I-N, keratin. And it's the same material that our fingernails and hair is made out of, but just a different composition or density. A good question, Vicky, thank you. Still looking around here, folks. Just any signs of Kunyama. He came up this way. We just had a question also before from Josh on email, which was a really interesting one as well. Good Impala questions. Thank you very much, Josh, and welcome aboard. Josh is asking how long Impala horns can get to. Well, on average, excuse me, it's between around 75 to 90 centimeters. So in inches, what's that? That's about the longest would be 90 centimeters. Is quite a long. Oh, look at that little one there. How beautiful are you? Wow, wow, wow. Sorry, Josh, I'm definitely coming back to you, but this is just too beautiful. This little guy here. How beautiful is that creature? That is just a stunning looking animal, isn't it? And then there's one over here behind, next to him. Even smaller. So delicate. Letting out a little vocalization. They may not have even seen us before, but these mothers are very, very habituated. and conditioned to us, so he's just walking, that little guy. Fantastic. They are so fantastic, aren't they? So back to your question, Josh. We'll just move on. Starting to get his strength and get his legs there, that little guy. I might just take a quick photograph of these guys if they stay there long enough. No, of course not. Little rats. They just moved off. They always do that. Josh, your question, just to finish your question, sorry. Excuse me, so up to about 90 centimeters, that's probably a massive set of horns on an Impala. That's about 35 inches, 35-ish inches, and that would be a really, really big set of horns on an Impala. So averaging around 75 centimeters, and you can probably do a conversion on that. And you see those, they really do stand out, those big rams that use those horns to battle it out for dominancy over a herd of females. Sorry. So we're coming up onto Impala Plains, which is an area that we've been many a time. We've seen Tingana up here with a kill in a tree not so long ago. That is the other thing, you know, when we were sitting with Kunyama last night and he was down in that little hollow, it just reminds me of how easy it is to drive past. Excuse me, a leopard right before under our noses, and that's life, you know, that's fantastic. I really like to walk away from each drive with that understanding that we may have driven past loads of different creatures but had no idea they were there. It's quite nice to think like that. Of course, this place is full, absolutely full of incredible animals that our human eyes might pass. We pick up signs, we pick up tracks and signals that the animals are there, but it's nice to know they also can go undetected. Going to head up onto Quarantine just for a little look. We're going along Zoe's road now. And Kunyama did walk up into this area when we left him last night. I haven't seen any tracks crossing this road this morning. Very quiet this morning. So we've got 45 minutes to go, and anything can happen in that time. We could still come across leopard, we could still come across any individual, any species, and that's what's fantastic about these live drives, is that it's not over till it's over for the morning, and then we come back to you at 4 o'clock our time till 7 p.m. our time, and it's the times are in your part of the world or on our websites, on the National Geographic websites and on the WildEarthTV websites, and you'll be able to coordinate hopefully with us and join us again. And Pete and I always say, you know, we come back to that whole thing of what this is about. This is about you. This is about you coming along with us and us trying to be able to get into these positions and bring this wildlife to you. So this connection that we have is the most crucial part of this project. It's the live broadcast, it's the connection with you that we love. So we just thank you every single drive that we do for being on board. We just got an email from Rama. Thank you very much, Rama, and welcome aboard to you as well. Thanks for watching. Her question is, are dung beetles around at this time of the year? Well, Rama, they are. We saw a couple of lovely dung beetles the other day moving their dung ball into a location that they could bury with their eggs inside that. But dung beetles have a tendency, like the warmer weather, like most of the insects, when it's a little bit cooler, they're not as active. And it's a very cool day today. It's just 20-ish degrees. It feels a little bit cooler than that, and I think that's the wind that's giving that little chill factor. But Rama, the dung beetles will probably be out in more warmer conditions, and if we do come across some over the coming drives, I'll definitely stop and show you. But that's the situation with dung beetles, and a little bit cool for them at the moment. You might see the odd one, but I think they would come out a lot more when it heated up. This little track down here, I like this little track. It takes us down onto quarantine, and just might give us a little insight into anything that happened with some of these leopards that are around. It's definitely still cool enough for leopard, but if it got any hotter, they'd definitely be looking for cooler areas. I mean, you'll always get exceptions to the rule, as I always say. Just don't know. Stop here and have a little look on quarantine with the binoculars, just see what we can spot. Very quiet here as well. Just have a little drive around there on our way. I'm going to go back down and check that dam just to see if that hippo's returned. Very quiet this morning. Just want to see if that's a bird that I think. No. Sorry, I just thought I spotted a nice bird. A woodland kingfisher, which I'm trying to show you, which really we've seen a couple of times in this area. Beautiful bird called a woodland kingfisher. A really spectacular bird, and a resident of this area. Big bump here, guys, sorry. I wonder where our friend Djuma is. Heading down into a place called Philemon's Dip, and that will take us then over towards the Treehouse Dam where we found Djuma last night, and also where that hippo was. I just want to have a quick look there just before we close today, see if that hippo's returned, because I just don't know where he's going during the day. we checked the other water points here, and he's not in any of those. He's definitely not down where he encountered that other dominant bull, that's for sure. But just find it strange that he's not using that dam as a place of sort of protection. With all those scars that were on him, he looks like a resilient old character. But, I don't know whether he's going to... it's just hard to say, it's hard to say. Those wounds were dramatic, but very severe, but stranger things have happened. Big bumps here. Very quiet this morning, folks, and I keep saying it, but I just want you to know that these sorts of drives are completely natural. You get those quieter times, and you always anticipate, or your air of anticipation is always there right to the last minute, but it's completely fine. It's really nice just to be out driving. It's cool, it's very relaxing as well. We were talking around the fire last night about what a safari is all about, and you know, everyone was sort of giving their sort of opinion, and I think also the common thing was the fascination about being in the presence of animals that are potentially very, very dangerous to you. There's something fascinating. Humans find that a really fascinating thing. Because we don't get the chance to do it without putting our life in danger. When you do, you can do it, and your life isn't in danger by being in the safety of a vehicle and driving respectfully and knowing the animal's limitations or our limitations and the animal's potential. When you combine all that together, it's actually a really attractive thing to be in the presence of those massive animals, whether they be large herbivores or apex predators like lion, leopard, etc. It's just something fascinating that us humans are sort of drawn towards. As soon as we get in the vehicle in the morning, that little heart rate rises a little bit, and hopefully it rises for you too. Okay, so we're back at Treehouse Dam again, and he's definitely not back. Absolutely vacant dam. So I have no idea where he is. Definitely covered a lot of ground this morning, a lot of driving this morning, and have not come across him. So hopefully he will return here this evening and we can catch up with him and see how he's getting on. I'm just going to head down to one more dam before I sign off. So we've got just under half an hour to go, and I think I can get to Voyatella Dam in that time safely. We'll just see if there's anything down there. The dams are always great points of interest for us, as we saw last night. You just don't know what's going to come, when it's going to come. Haven't seen giraffe for a few days. I'd like to see some giraffe. One of my favourites. Everything's a favourite, really. So Kunyama was down in this country like last night, and there's really sort of thick, lots of drainage lines and very tricky terrain to get through. It was really good fun. It was really excellent experience driving through it. Maybe I should head down that road. I haven't been down that road today. Just going to see. No, let's carry on. Let's carry on. Sorry, a little bit of hesitation there, folks, but sometimes you have to go with your intuition. We were talking about that last night around the fire as well. Intuition, what an interesting thing that is. Now, we all have this sort of gut feeling and this intuition, and we go by that a lot. A lot of people live their lives through it. But particularly when you're out watching or looking for wildlife, we use our knowledge but also our intuition sometimes. And when you use your intuition and you're right, that's fantastic intuition, isn't it? And when you think you've used your intuition and you're not right, well, that wasn't intuition. If that makes any sense. Sun's starting to poke its head through now. Definitely starting to warm up. So we're coming down into the area where quarantine was seen last night. Keep our eyes open there as well. Sorry, those bumps are a bit tricky just there. I want to also say thank you to everyone for all their emails and tweets that we get, that really lovely words of support. I'm glad you all enjoyed that yesterday morning, the birth of the wildebeest. It was a fantastic experience, and to share that all with you made us really proud and happy, and something we'll never forget. Quite extraordinary. Well, I suppose it was tense for the first one that we were on, VM and I, when those hyena came up, and we just thought, oh goodness, here we go. It would be really nice to show, you know, like something coming into the world without any drama. But then again, you know, obviously it's the natural world, so it happens as it happens. But then those hyena, I couldn't believe they just walked on. So the wind was definitely in the wildebeest's favour. Just going to check one of my little special spots here that leopard like. But yeah, then the hyena carried on, and I thought they were going to come back, but they didn't, luckily. And then she walked off into that vegetation, and I thought we'd lost her, and there's no way in the world we were going to go and disturb her. And then she came back out, which was fantastic. Really great finish to the story. And then to see that little guy's first steps. Often come and just check in this little sheltered area under here for, see that black spot just over there, that sort of darker shaded area. Often get leopard just in there, but this is generally because this pan here, or this little water point, has got some water in it, but it's dry now, and just in this area just here, right there. So when it gets a bit of water, it might be a bit more frequented by leopard, because they would hide under there, not only resting, but then potentially just taking an opportunity if it arose. But yeah, just to finish off on the wildebeest yesterday, that was quite a special thing to see that. Okay, let's make our way to the dam and see. We've got about 20 minutes to go. I'd like to just get there and sit and see what comes down. Because that's often another good technique, is that if you've had a bit of a quiet drive in the morning and you've been looking for things all over the place, we might drop out here, folks. I do apologise. We might lose signal just in this dip. Let's see how we go. Are we still with you? Hopefully we're still with you. Signal's getting better. We're the technical team. There's so many fantastic people working on this. Graham, Peter, Alex, Will, and loads of other people in other countries working to make sure that we fine-tune this constantly for you. And hopefully those little dips are becoming stronger and stronger. But just back to the other technique that is nice to do sometimes on a safari, on a game drive. We actually go out and we can drive, which we just did this morning. Very quiet, but that's okay. And then you could, the other technique is just to go and sit somewhere for the last sort of 20 minutes and let animals potentially come to us. And a water point or a dam or a river or something like that is exactly the place to do that. So the clouds breaking up now. I think we're going to have another warm one. I thought it was going to be a bit cooler today, but it's going to definitely go into the 30s, I think. 30 degrees Celsius plus, in the 80s Fahrenheit, 90s maybe. But then again, it can be extremely hot like that in the afternoon. We saw Kanyama and very, very quickly yesterday. 15 minutes into the drive, 4:15 we saw him. So there's always rule breakers. Well, it's not really rules, but there's always exceptions. You know, some animals will just cope with the heat a little bit better than others. We've got some nice buffalo up on the dam wall here. We might just pull up with them. We've got about 15 minutes to go. We're just going to sit up on this dam wall and see what happens and what comes to us. Got some lovely buffs just here, so we're just going to gently poke our nose up towards them so we can view the dam. And these are bachelors. The boy on the left down off the dam wall is pretty extraordinary. He's a big boy, massive horns. I'll just move in a little bit. There we go. I love how familiar these animals are with vehicles. Like, he didn't even attempt to move this guy in the middle of the road up on the top of the wall. He knows that we're not a threat. And I've remained in that little invisible zone, that all animals have, that you overstep that zone and you will change the behavior to the point where they'll move. But at the moment, yeah, we're in that zone that, well, outside that zone where he's comfortable with us. A couple of bachelors, lovely red-billed oxpeckers on them there, creeping up and down, looking for parasites. So a quiet morning, folks, but still a lovely drive and just a really nice look around. We'll always do our best to bring you as much as we possibly can. You do have these mornings now and again that are just super quiet. I know Pete saw some beautiful impala as well, and buffs, and I'm not sure if you saw Ellie's this morning, but a bit quiet on the front that we were on. We've got our hippo out here as well, but he's lying quite low at the moment. He's just over here, and he is the dominant animal in this area, and I think he is the one that the battle occurred with our other friend over in Treehouse Dam. But at the moment staying submerged, which is exactly what that other hippo should be doing, but who knows where he is. I'm not really sure. Just going to have a scan around with my binoculars whilst you're watching him, just to see if there's any new birds for us. Okay folks, well look, I'll tell you what, I think this is a good plan. It's been a quiet morning, but at the same time a very, very pleasurable morning to be out in the Djuma and Arathusa game reserves in Sabi Sands here in South Africa. And I'm probably going to sign off now, because I think I should cross over to Pete and see what he's up to. And I know he'll want to say farewell as well. Quiet this morning, but still, those things happen, and we're sitting here with some beautiful buffs at the moment, and I just want to say thank you for joining us as always. We'll definitely be back this afternoon at 4 o'clock, 4 till 7 p.m. our time, so check the websites to see where it is at your time. We'll definitely put some intelligence in today to try and find out if there was any interactions or encounters around the reserves with predators, and do a little bit of research ourselves on those 2 leopards that we had last night and where their whereabouts are. But it's always a pleasure to have you, and thank you so much for being with us. We look forward to seeing you this afternoon. And from Djuma here and these 2 boys and these 3 buffalo and myself, I'll say farewell, and we'll see you this afternoon. Take care.
Okay, welcome back this side on the jigger. We're just winding down to the sort of the last little bit of the drive, and it's one of those mornings where it's a little bit quieter. That's very usual. You sort of have your ebbs and flows on game drives always. Nice cool morning, beautiful buffalo that you were looking at just now, and yeah, we're just enjoying the drive, seeing what's around, maybe some bird life, see if something interesting pops out. We're on the sort of northwestern side from camp at the moment, so we are slowly making our way back around. We might be got 10 minutes to go, so we might just be able to have a look around on quarantine just before we end. But let's see. On these roads, in a place as wild as this, you never know what can pop out next. the right word, a little bit quieter. It really is that sort of strange weather. I know we talk about the weather a lot, but trust me, you're driving in a little Land Rover that's got no roofs on it, no windows, no sides, it's just the body and the wheels and a bunch of electrical gear on the back. Then you you do become aware of the weather. Guys, I just spotted something tiny. Now the chance of seeing it is probably 1 in 50. On that Djuma at Mount Brian, if we can spot, it's gone. No, there we go. Maybe right just in front of the black. No, in front of the logs. No. It's a slender mongoose, and it was a wild chance even to mention. Very, very seldom you actually. Oh, look at that though, on top of the Djuma. Oh, yeah. I wonder if there was perhaps a bit of interaction between the two. In that case, we might have just saved this little tortoise a lot of trouble. Slender mongoose is a little predator and would probably try a tortoise this size, although the tortoise might be just too big. So let me go slightly forward. Oh, you can see him. That's a hinged tortoise, or a hinge-back tortoise. They've got this little fold on the, well, actually both the carapace and the plastron, the top and the bottom part, they can just fold or bend ever so slightly. That's some difficult terrain for a little tortoise in 4x4 mode. Back it goes. Mongoose is gone, so I don't think he'll harass the tortoise too much more. If that was the case, it might have just been randomly that they were close together, but cheers, dude. But I was saying that there's this almost, maybe not subdued, maybe anticipating feel about the bush this morning. Maybe that's a better word. It's like we've all been waiting for this big rain, and we keep eyes on it for reasons of the vehicle as well. But it is a big thing, and we've had a bit of rain, a little bit here and there, but not that first big rains of summer, and that is something, you know, something truly to behold. You know, it can be very impressive. It might be the next while. I haven't looked at weather predictions specifically, but I know there was some very hot weather predicted for the weekend. With this kind of moisture around and very hot weather, that's the perfect cocktail for a big thunderstorm. So maybe everything is just sort of waiting with bated breath at the moment, you know, just waiting for it to happen. Close to camp just before closing down. I wonder where the wildebeest have gone. And with wildebeest I mean specifically VM and Brian. Those two that we saw born yesterday. I would have expected them to stick around that open area. Or if not, stick around, at least be back there again soon. it was one of those log animals, but could possibly have been a clump of grass animal as well. I don't know. Thought I saw something, but the bush does this all the time. It plays little tricks in the eye. Maybe it's the eye that does it. Bush just is, and the eye is playing little tricks. But ultimately, all of it is just our brains, our minds. All of this exists. Well, excuse me, that was a lovely morning. Earpiece. Great morning, bit of buffalo, bit of this, bit of that, impalas, nyalas, and I think we're in for another treat this afternoon. We're going to have to keep an eye on what's going on up there. These clouds moving in, and as always, what a pleasure to have you down here in South Africa. What a pleasure to have you in Africa. It is a special place, and our treat to take you around on safari. So I hope you enjoyed the live safari. From myself, Peter Pretorius, Brian behind the camera, Alex, thank you very much, directing side, and everyone else, most importantly you, we'll see you for the sunset safari. Bye bye.